Thank you so much, Chairman. Admiral Shammy, in January, Trump and Secretary Nome ordered the Coast Guard to triple its presence at the U.S. border. However, despite some of our requests, the Coast Guard has not provided us information on exactly where the service has redirected assets and personnel from. Would you please commit to providing us with the full accounting of all assets and personnel that have been redirected since January 20th, including their home port or station, as well as a description of all deployments and missions that were canceled or redirected?
Yes, Congresswoman, I'd be happy to come brief you on that.
Perfect, thank you so much. I want to move to Ms. McLeod. GAO has studied the Coast Guard's capabilities to carry out various missions, as well as its capacity to make resource allocation decisions effectively. In your estimation, does the Coast Guard fully understand the trade-offs it's making when it redeploys assets and personnel?
We've found both data limitations in acknowledging those trade-offs as well as strategic. Everything cannot be a priority. And the Coast Guard, as I said, has a history of making do without accounting for the various trade-offs among these 11 missions and various national priorities. It's a scattershot approach.
Thank you. What are some of the trade-offs the Coast Guard needs to reconsider?
Well, among its missions, we saw in our recent data analysis, as the Coast Guard has shifted more resources to the drug interdiction mission, a steep decline in the migrant interdiction mission, just as an example. And then there's the search and rescue missions and other missions that are also being affected at the same time.
Got it. Thank you so much for that. Last year, GAO reported on the Coast Guard's aviation fleet and found that the service's planes and helicopters were only available 66 to 68% of the time on average in recent years. Since then, the Trump administration started using Coast Guard planes, obviously, to fly deportation, staging flights, and Secretary Nome requested to spend $50 million on a new executive Gulfstream jet. Given the existing challenges the aging Coast Guard aircraft fleet faces, how do these additional demands impact Coast Guard readiness?
The Coast Guard's aircraft are not meeting the availability targets. Since our report last year, this has become even more acute with grounding of additional aircraft within the fleet.
Thank you for that. With that, I yield back.
Thank you to the ranking member, McIver. I now recognize the chairman of Border Security Enforcement, the gentleman from Mississippi, Michael Guest.